Big Mike here with
Hayes Entertainment.
Today's episode, we got former Canuck Dixon Ward.
If you like what we're doing, you hit the subscribe button right there. If you're looking for a mug, perhaps a hoodie, head on over to IOnlyTouchGreatness.com.
I'm Dixon Ward and excited to be coming on Only Touch Greatness podcast.
We the best, just like Alan says, we the best. We stay hot to death, we the best. Always down the rack, this Hayes Entertainment, what you know about that? We the best, just like Alan says, we the best. We stay hot to death, we the best. Always down the rack, this Hayes Entertainment, what you know about that?
Can't beat us, we MCs. I make cats run like DMC. My boy gets saved, it's the ENT. On the track, I blow like TNT. Hot boys like CMB. Girls spend the night like a B&B. I say what I want what I say. Remain at the top, I'm the top of the game.
The number one sports podcast in Vancouver with Ryan Hayes and Big Mike. Roll it up and fire it up.
Ryan Hayes and Big Mike. I Only Touch Greatness podcast.
We the best, just like Alan says, we the best. We stay hot to death, we the best. Always down the rack, this Hayes Entertainment, what you know about that? We the best, just like Alan says, we the best. We stay hot to death, we the best. Always down the rack, this Hayes Entertainment, what you know about that?
We the best, yes, that's something I can put plain. Hey, cause them ballers get paid. Pop bottles, homie, got dollars for days. Get low, sit low, when them politics trades. You want West Coast, just holla at Hayes.
We the best, just like Alan says, we the best. We stay hot to death, we the best. Always down the rack, this Hayes Entertainment, what you know about that? We the best, just like Alan says, we the best. We stay hot to death, we the best. Always down the rack, this Hayes Entertainment, what you know about that?
Going.
Good, how are you guys?
Good, thanks. Thanks for taking the time for us today.
No problem.
Big Mike here, and that's Ryan Hayes.
Nice to meet you.
Good to see you guys.
Well, where do you stay these days?
I'm in Kelowna.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're running the Okanagan Hockey Academy, correct?
That's correct, yep.
Nice. Yeah, the best kids come out of there. We all know that.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay.
That's the hope.
Yeah.
What's it like? What was it like growing up in Alberta? What was life like out there?
Well, it was a typical prairie life, cold and but a lot of opportunity. If you love the game of hockey, it couldn't have been a better place to grow up. The access that we had, and obviously with the Oilers right there in their heyday, and we had a lot of fun, no question about it.
What made you get into hockey in the first place? And did you play any other sports growing up?
Yeah, I've played hockey as long as I can remember. My dad played some hockey, and he was involved in it for years and years. But yeah, we played, my brother and I and sister as well. We played just about every sport they had in Leduc, and played a lot of baseball, a lot of golf in the summer, and even tried soccer. That didn't last long. It was too slow for me, or maybe I was too slow for it. I'm not sure. But yeah, we did a little bit of everything, track and field. My dad was a phys ed teacher, so we had the full gamut of athletics for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's always good to try every little sport when you're growing up.
What was your favorite jersey number, and did you have any nicknames?
My favorite jersey number? Well, that's a good question. I'll be honest with you. It's probably 17. That was my first number in the NHL in Vancouver, and my son wears it in college now. So unfortunately, I couldn't get it anywhere else I went. It was a pretty popular number, obviously, but yeah, my nicknames were pretty much always been Wardo, or some of them I can't repeat on the air, but that was the longest.
You could always throw them out on our show.
Growing up, who did you try and play like or mirror your game after?
Well, I mean, Gretzky was always my favorite player. So obviously you're not going to play like Gretzky, but I watched him closer than anybody else, and tried to understand the game the way he saw it, and I think, to be honest, it taught me a lot about understanding the game and the flow of the game and how to make plays. I was a guy that always, realistically was a playmaker first before a goal scorer. But and so, I learned a lot from watching those Oilers over the years. And it's one thing kids miss nowadays is they don't watch games start to finish anymore. They watch the highlights on their phone. And we used to sit down and watch entire games as many times as we could because we didn't have the same access to games as the kids do now. So that's the one thing we try to encourage our kids in our program is to watch as much as you can. You can learn a lot about the game and the thought process behind it. And we were lucky that way. We watched a lot of hockey.
That was actually brought up on the radio here in Vancouver the other day, how say for football, you have the red zone and it jumps from game to game to game and basically shows you the highlights. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I am, yeah.
Okay, so it jumps from highlight to highlight to highlight, but you never actually get to watch the struggles of the QB or because you're not watching the full game, so you don't know that the QB struggled for that couple series and you see him overcome it to get the win down the road. But
and that's exactly right. I'm not a fan of highlights. I enjoy even if it's football or if it's baseball. I like the second inning as much as I like the ninth inning because the second inning sets you up for the ninth inning, and that's the same way in football and same way in hockey. And understand how the whole game fits together to provide an outcome is the most interesting part of it. So I'm a fan of watching things in their entirety. I'll get up when I was a kid at 3:00 in the morning and watch the first round of the British Open because I wanted to see. That was exciting to me as it was on Sundays. So I enjoy that whole process of the game and how you, like you said, the struggles that you need to go through in order to become victorious. That's the fun part about any sport.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Do you have any pregame meals or rituals?
Yeah, I mean, everybody, I think you'll probably ask any player the same question. We all ate the same thing. We all had our spaghetti and steak or spaghetti and chicken. I was a little bit different in the sense, well, not different, but I'm not a sauce guy. So I eat plain spaghetti, maybe a little cottage cheese on it. That was about it.
Oh man.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, Mike. I don't like tomato sauce.
Yeah.
I don't like tomato sauce. I like Alfredo.
The pregame rituals are more of routines and than anything else. Just trying to, it's all part of the mental preparation about going through the step-by-step process to make sure you're prepared and you haven't left anything out. And so there's all kinds of those things that every single player will go through as far as their routines leading up to a game. There's always those little quirks, and guys got to come out at the same time or have to leave the warm up at the exact same seconds on the clock, or they have to, shoot the puck off this post before they can leave the ice. All those are things that get cumbersome after a while, but they're really hard to break because they become part of your routine. So yeah, we always had those, and I had, certain points in my career, they were a little bit more crazy than other points, but you're looking back and you just shake your head at yourself going, what were you thinking? Like, what a waste of time.
The crazy, the one that we heard, like,
the Connor Geekie?
Yeah.
Yeah, Connor Geekie's a great player. He's an NHL prospect, obviously playing the dub. He puts his right shin pad on his left on his right. He's put it on forever since he was a kid, and he's stuck with it. That's a tough one. Yeah,
it is, because the way they make shin pads, it wouldn't be super comfortable on the wrong leg. So
no.
That's it.
I don't know about blocking shots either. I mean, it opens up a little bit too much on each side doing that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, if he makes it to the NHL, I'm sure they could custom make the wrong leg for him. So
yeah, I would have
just mark him differently, right?
I thought you were gonna say that they would make him almost go back to putting him on the right leg because you own the rights to him almost.
well, they'll put an R on the wrong leg and an L on the right leg. It'll make him feel like he's doing it the way he's always done it.
That's right. You obviously played North Dakota, and you're one of the only Sioux players with 100 goals and 100 assists in your career. That's pretty nice numbers. Obviously, Brock Besser couldn't even beat that.
Well, he wasn't there long enough. That's the problem. But yeah, no, that was North Dakota, as you guys know, and a lot of people in Vancouver are very familiar. There's been a lot of North Dakota guys come through the Vancouver Canucks over the years, and they've always had a good relationship between the two organizations. And I know that Ronnie Delorme, who's the chief scout in Vancouver, long before I played there, even he drafted me, has a great lot of faith in the North Dakota program, and so they know that they're going to develop the players the way they want them to be developed as good pros, and so North Dakota was a great spot, great organization, great school to go to, and I had fortunate to have a lot of great players to play with and had good success there.
Taking back to your first NHL goal, do you still have the puck?
I'm sure I have it somewhere. Yeah, it's on I think my dad put it on a plaque. I got my first goal, my 20th goal, and maybe my first playoff goal or something's on there. It's somewhere, but yeah, no, I won't forget that one because my great friend Gino Ojic set me up. In the slot in Winnipeg, and I think we were about 3 or 4 games into my career, and Gino Ojic made a pass like Gretzky used to do behind the net and passed it right out. And I came flying off the bench and just hammered it and closed my eyes, and it went in. So that was an exciting time, and it was great to have Gino part of that.
Of course, yeah, we had him on our show as well. We're like the biggest Gino Ojic fans there are, and he's such a great guy, and we're wishing him the best in his health here.
Yeah, no question about it. Gino was a great teammate, as everybody knows, and everybody's ever played with him will tell you the same thing. And he's fought through a lot of adversity in his life, and now he's fighting the health issues over the last few years. But he's a tough guy, boy, and he'll get through it. And he's got a lot of support, I know, from the Canucks organization, and they're a great alumni and a great organization that takes care of their own. So he's in good hands for sure.
Yeah, we had Kurt McLean on last night, and we were talking about Gino and how great he is. And we met him a few times and also have had him on. So and it's like once you get them on your show, they are now like your friend. So you take and you listen and you keep track of them and you watch them, make sure they're doing okay. You send a message if he's sick or.
Yeah, no, and just going back to your question about nicknames, it reminds me of Gino. He sat right next to me in the locker room, and so it was very early on in our relationship that he decided my new name was Ugly. So every morning he'd come in, he'd say, "Hey, Ugly, how you doing?" And that was I don't think he knew my real name after that. It was just Ugly. And I remember years later, I was in Buffalo. He was playing in Montreal, and I'm skating around in warm up, and I can hear from the other end of the rink, "Hey, Ugly! Hey, Ugly!" I turn around and Gino's laughing. He's standing there at the blue line screaming Ugly at me the whole time in warm up. So those are memories I don't forget for sure.
Exactly. And what are you going to do about it? It's Gino Ojic. I mean, you just got to take it.
Right. You got no choice but to take it on the chin for sure.
That's right. Take me back to draft day, a big day in Canucks history, obviously. You were drafted 128th overall to the Canucks. Did you know they were interested, and did you know much about the team?
I knew I had visited. I think Ronnie Delorme came into Red Deer where I was playing junior, and we had gone out for a bite to eat after a game and just chatted. And I knew they had some interest, but I had, back in those days it was a little bit different. The whole event surrounding the draft was different. So I was out with my buddies that night, and I came home about 1 o'clock in the morning or something, and I think I woke up my parents. I said, anybody call or hear anything? And my dad said, I think maybe Vancouver called. I don't know. I was sleeping. So they said they'd call you in the morning. So I read it in the paper the next day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good one. You then moved around, of course, a couple seasons, and you had a couple great seasons with the Sabres. 1 year scoring 20 and then going to game 7. Take me back to that year and what the experience was like.
Well, that was a lot of fun. I found a really good home in Buffalo for 4 or 5 years, and we had a real good team, and obviously we had not a bad goaltender in Dominic Hasek. So that always, every game gave us a chance to win, and so I moved into a real good role there in Buffalo and really enjoyed it there. And we had a real good, solid team. It wasn't built with any superstars really, other than Dominic, but a real good group of guys and hard work and tough players, Brad Mays of the world and Rob Ray and Matthew Barnaby's and these guys, Bobby Bougners. I mean, we had a greasy group.
Yeah, you did.
On and off the ice. And we had a ton of fun there. We played for each other. They're still great friends of mine today, all of them. And obviously Michael Pekka was our captain. He was a great player. And so, we just kept building as a group over the years and getting to the second round, getting to the third round, then getting to the Stanley Cup final in '99. It was a great run, a lot of fun. It was disappointing at the time, but looking back, it was a great experience, something I'll never forget.
That goal should not have counted.
No, there's no question about that.
Yeah, that's you look back at it. I mean, the rules have changed now, but the actual rule of the time is you can't have your foot in the crease before the puck. And clearly he was.
Yeah, it was a big scam and a scandal, and there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. And
yeah, when we talked to Rob Ray about it, I believe it was him or it might have been Brad May. They said that they didn't want to call everybody back off the ice after everybody had left the benches and celebrated, and they had already started carrying the cup towards the ice and everything, and then
the replay officials vacated the replay box immediately, so nobody could find them. And it was, and then once they opened the barn doors, they couldn't get the horses back in. It was too late. So they had to try to find a way to explain their way out of it. They didn't do a very good job of it. And I think everybody sort of knows now that it was a mistake, but it is what it is.
It is what it is, I guess. Yeah, that sucks though. I mean, you must have had some great years in Buffalo. Just that we had those guys on the show, and those guys are absolute beauties, like Rob Ray, Brad May. We've tried to get Barnaby on. He'll be coming on eventually, but even the stories about them fighting in practice and Barnaby being a mouthpiece even in practice and all this stuff, like it's just funny to hear those kind of stuff.
Oh, it's outrageous behavior, these guys. I remember, and if you get Barnaby on, ask him about this story. We had this right off the locker room was the players' lounge, so you got all your couches and we had a brand new big screen TV in there. And so before practice or whatever, you go hang out in there and watch the highlights from the night before and have a coffee or whatever. And I remember for some reason, Robbie Ray and Barney they liked to wrestle. So they were wrestling around in the locker room, and of course they get ultra competitive and the wrestling gets a little bit violent, and then Razor picks him up and body slams him. And Barney not a very big guy, right? He's a scrappy guy, but he only weighed about 170 pounds. And so he got really pissed off and storming around the locker room, and guys are laughing. And he comes wheeling into the players' lounge, and he takes a skate and he wings it right through the big screen TV. And so his skate is now sitting inside the inner workings of the big screen TV. I reach in and pull his skate out, and we're all looking at him like, "What are you doing, man? That's our TV, man. That's the only TV we got in here." So later that day after practice, I wheeled the TV out of there and found a little tiny clock radio and plugged it in where the TV was. And so the next morning when Barney came in, the whole team was sitting around listening to the radio, pretending that that's all we had left because we had no TV.
I bet you he replaced that TV pretty fast.
He did replace it. Yeah, that's the kind of antics that we dealt with every day there.
It sounds like the kid that would take the goalie net and go home.
Yeah, that's what he was doing that day. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
Do any tough opponents stick out to you that were hard to play against?
The hardest guys to play against were the guys that you didn't trust, right? That Chris Chelios is the world, right? You didn't know when you were going to take an elbow in the face for no reason, or Darcy Tucker and Shane Corson. These guys were tough, greasy, competitive guys. They like to cross the line once in a while. So they always made you a little nervous because you never know what the hell they were going to do.
Exactly. Or Scott Stevens running around.
Yeah, Scott Stevens. I mean, Scott Stevens was something and I got, wised up pretty early to Scott Stevens, so I didn't even bother going to the middle of the rink when he was out there. I just dump it into Niedermayer's corner and change. Because Niedermayer was I would always come down the left side, and Niedermayer was playing right D, so he'd always try to push guys to the middle, and then Stevens would read it and come across and catch it. And you've seen those highlights with 10 different guys.
Oh, yeah.
I wised up early, and I said, I'm not even going to bother. I'm just going to dump it in the corner and change. Nothing else you're going to do, because you're not going to beat Niedermayer back for the puck. He's too fast. You're not going to come across and try to beat him because Stevens will knock you out. So what was the point? So change. That's the way for Danico to get out there.
That's a good one.
There was one good name you mentioned in there was Shane Corson. We've had him on the show too.
Yeah,
he's a beauty.
Oh yeah, he was a great player for a long time, and a tough guy for a guy that wasn't that big. He was one of those pound for pound guys you didn't want to mess with. And
yeah,
I saw him have a lot of great fights. I saw him and Sergio Momesto one time in Vancouver had one of the better fights I've seen.
Oh yeah. Yep. What do you think of that new? It's not new anymore, but the lacrosse goal.
I'm not a fan of that stuff, to be honest.
You probably hate it when the kids do it at your school, don't you?
I do. I do. But they're kids, and that's what they see, and it's always fun to play around. Practice is one thing, but I'm not a fan of it. But hey, it's a legal part of the game now, so we're going to see it more.
Yeah.
Yep.
We used to say that about guys that would go through their legs and shoot. Now that's part of everybody's repertoire.
Yep.
Yeah,
it is.
Exactly.
What's your favorite piece of memorabilia you own from your playing days?
I think probably my Gretzky sticks that I have. Those are probably my favorite ones, and I was fortunate enough to grab some sticks from all my favorite players I played with. So, but my Gretzky sticks, I got a couple of them that are the things I'll never part with.
That's cool. Those things are priceless.
Yeah.
And he signs those, right? Or
I know he signs them, and they're personalized to me because I played with him in LA. So
yeah,
those are special memories for me for sure.
Okay. Do you have
one of the fights? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mike.
I was just gonna say one of the fights I remember of yours was against that Airy guy, and you pumped him. Do you remember that one?
I do.
It was Rob Airy.
Bob Airy, yeah.
Yeah.
It was. There's a funny story behind that because I just told this story the other day on another talk I had, but I just got traded from Vancouver to LA. It was the very first game, and when we were playing in San Jose, I was only there for a day and a half, and we were in San Jose playing. And Bob Airy, if you guys remember, was a scrappy little guy that he was a pest type of player, and he was tasked that night to bug Gretz all night. And so I'm brand new on the team, first game, trying to make an impression. So I says, well, no better time than not. So I went out and grabbed Bob Airy, and we had a scrap because he was bugging Gretzky. And so that was everybody loved me for that. And those are the kind of things. That was all planned event so I can ingratiate myself with my new teammates. Bob Airy wasn't very big, so I wasn't in much danger.
No, you pumped him though, and hey, you stuck up for Gretzky. I'm sure he was happy. New kid coming in on the team, and he's sticking up for me already. I mean, look, you made yourself look good.
Yeah, I know those are some of the things you got to do to make a good impression for sure.
Do you have a favorite sports movie?
Favorite sports movie, probably Rudy.
Yeah, that's mine.
Rudy's my favorite one. It always gets me, that one. So
yeah,
it's a good one.
I love that one too.
What was your favorite road bar in Dixon?
Favorite road barn? That's a good question. I'm trying to really think of.
Perhaps the city that stands out too.
Well, I mean, the cities are great. I mean, when I played, they were right in the middle of a lot of transition in arenas. The old Boston Garden I played in for a couple of years, and then they moved into the Fleet Center, and the same as the Montreal Forum. The old Montreal Forum was cool. And then they moved to the Bell Center. even the old Odd in Buffalo was an awesome rink to play in. It was a small rink, but it was loud, and the glass was, Brad May will tell you, he used to race around the ice and just smash into the glass, and the crowd would go crazy because it sounded like he hit somebody. Whether he hit anybody or not, they thought he did, because the glass would just rattle and it just go like that, and the crowd would go crazy. That was I felt like
our Pacific Coliseum was very similar too.
Yeah, I love the Pacific Coliseum. There was something really unique about the lighting in there that, and it only come off of one side of the rink, and I love the atmosphere in there when we played, and it was a great spot for sure.
What's been your go-to quarantine snack?
Goldfish all day long.
Oh yeah,
I love the Goldfish.
They come in like every flavor now too. I remember back in the day, like 10 years ago, you could only get the cheese ones, and now it's like every flavor.
Yeah, no, I stick with the originals. I can't touch the rainbow ones. They taste like paint, and I got to go with the original.
Did you have
a go-to celly?
Oh, sorry. Did you have a go-to celly back in the day?
Usually just a fist pump.
Yeah.
A sidearm Gretzky fist pump.
Okay, yeah, I remember.
Gretzky's
always go like this.
Yeah, just like that. Yeah.
Okay.
But all depending on how big the goal was and how excited I was.
Yeah.
Can you give us a good Gretzky story?
Good Gretzky story. There are a lot of good Gretzky stories.
Would you at least cover the tab most of the time when you guys went out?
I'll tell you what kind of guy Gretzky was. I was after a year right at the end of the year in LA, and we played our last game and we missed the playoffs. So we were out as a group in Manhattan Beach at a bar somewhere, and sitting around having some beers. And Gretz says to me, he says, "Hey, I think it's a Thursday night." And he says, "Hey, we're going to Hawaii on Saturday. You and I just got engaged a couple months earlier." And he says, "You and your fiance want to come to Hawaii with us?" And I said, "Hey, we'd love to, but I'm making no money. And we're not staying at the Super 8 in Hawaii. No, not happening."
Yeah.
And I got to save up for getting married, and I'm just a second year in the league on a really, smaller contract than Wayne had. So I said, "Oh, we'd love to. I just can't afford to do it." So anyway, the next day about noon, I'm probably still in bed, and the phone rings, and it's Gretz's secretary, his personal secretary, and her name was Christine. And he says, she says, "Hey, it's Christine. Going to Hawaii tomorrow. Gretz and Janet want you guys to come to Hawaii tomorrow. There's a flight at noon. How do you want to pay for it?" So I cover the phone and I talk to my fiance and I say, "Listen, Gretz wants us to go. We got to go. Like, we have no choice here. This is Wayne Gretzky. I grew up idolizing this guy."
Yeah.
So I go back on the phone with her and said, "Hey, just let me grab my credit card." She goes, "No, just kidding. Wayne and Janet are going to treat you and take you to Hawaii." So.
Wow. That's a great story. See, I wanted a Gretzky story. You hit me with a great one.
Yeah, so he took us to Hawaii for a week, and we had unbelievable. And it was not just us. We had Marty McSorley was with us, and Tony Granato and his wife, and Warren Reichel and his wife. So we had a great time for a week, and I go to get my room bill at the end of the week, and I think my bill was like $400 for the whole week. Gretzky covered everything and every meal, and you couldn't order anything at the pool. He'd sneak in and pay for it. I mean, that's just the kind of guy he was. You understood what situation we were in, and he just wanted his teammates around him, and he was that kind of guy. And there's a million stories like that about Wayne Gretzky. He's one of those most generous guys you'll ever meet.
That's awesome. Yeah, we've heard that from a lot of people. We've heard that from tons of people, that he just he's the person that you actually see on TV, that we see on TV. He is that guy in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you still lace them up?
Pardon me?
You still lace them up and get out there?
No.
I
mean, I'll go out there with the kids.
Yeah.
I don't play anymore. Everything hurts too much, and it's no fun when you think you should be able to do some things, but your body just won't do it anymore. And I think I maybe once every year, once every 2 years, I'll jump in with the Canucks alumni if there's a game around or whatever. But it was by the time warm-up's over, I would have quit anyway. So.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dixon, for taking the time today. We really appreciate you coming on and chatting with us. We're huge fans of yours. And obviously, we wish you best with your hockey school. And you guys have already developed a bunch of great kids, and you're going to just keep developing more.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, we'll love to
just,
have you on again sometime.
Anytime, guys. Anytime. You know, we all got time on our hands these days.
Yeah,
we'll get you on with somebody else, maybe Rob Ray or something one day.
Yeah, Razor or Kirk. I'd like to get on with Kirk.
Kirk would be a good one. Yeah,
Kirk McLean story someday.
Oh yeah.